I went to work in the stock market. I never practiced law, even though I went through the process of being admitted to the bar. I went straight to Wall Street, where I thought that I'd be done in a couple of years and wealthy forever. And then I encountered my first bear market and discovered I wasn't a genius and that it wasn't really fun to be there with your happiness determined by the Dow Jones Industrial Averages. So my wife at the time, Julia Phillips, was working in the movie industry for a new company, first artist that had not made movies yet, but met Tony Bill. Tony told us that there was something going on in Hollywood that he thought was really strange, which was that there were all these really talented people coming out of film school and they couldn't get arrested. Nobody would read their scripts, nobody would really meet with them. And wouldn't it be, interesting if we had a little money to develop scripts or option scripts with these people? And it sounded great, and we shook hands on this and started the process of looking for material. And we got very fortunate in that one of the first things that Tony sent us was, we were living in New York, Tony was in LA, and one of the first things he sent us was an audio tape he made of a UCLA film school grad student who wanted to write a movie about con men, David Ward. And Tony had gotten excited about it and recorded it, sent us a cassette, and it was amazing. It was just so exciting, his idea. This was the sting, obviously. And I said, well, can he write? So he sent us a sample of his film school thesis, which was Steelyard Blues. And we loved it. And we pooled all our resources, and we had $2,500, and the Bill family had $1,000. We offered it all to David Ward for an option on the yet to be written screenplay, The Sting, and we asked him to throw in to the deal the Steelyard Blues, and his agent gave us a 4-month option on Steelyard Blues, but we didn't realize that was completely worthless. 4 months is not enough time to even exchange 2 sets of phone calls. But miraculously, we gave our script to, at that time, one of the youngest agents in town, Mike Medavoy, who went on to have a great career as a producer and a studio executive. And Mike represented, I guess his highest profile client was Donald Sutherland. And Donald, he gave the script to Donald, Steelyard Blues, and Donald, who was extremely active in the anti-Vietnam War campaign, and his girlfriend at the time was Jane Fonda, and they were going around the country doing coffee house shows, anti-war shows near army bases, and they ran out of money. So Donald said he wanted to do it, and he got Jane involved, and they had just come off Clute, for which she won an Academy Award a year earlier. Their condition was that we used the director of their anti-war shows, who was a talented young man, Alan Myerson, but he had never made a feature film. And we rushed into production, and there we were. So 2 months after we formed our company, I was in LA finalizing a deal with Warner Brothers to finance Steelyard Blues and rushing into production to get the film ready in 3 or 4 months because Jane Fonda was only available for a specific window. So we found ourselves almost instantly in the movie business with a go picture. We didn't know what we were doing. Nobody on the movie knew what they were doing.
How did you work with a director who, did he have any camera experience or any?
He had some, but we had first-time director, first-time cameraman, first-time art director, and stars who broke up on the eve of production in a love, and they were supposed to be lovers in the movie. So it was excuse the pun, star-crossed from the beginning. And it was really a mess. It was a great script. I sort of see it as a sacrificial lamb on the altar of my career in some ways, because the Warner Brothers studio executives, who were Dick Zanuck and David Brown, they scratched their heads at the film and the test audiences, and they did something outside the rules. They gave us, the producers, a print of the film, a moviola, an office, and a year to do what we wanted, but don't tell them, and pretend this was outside all the union rules. So, in the course of a year is where I really got my education of actually hand splicing and learning. This is the film,
So
piece of film, physically edited the film, tried had the luxury of all this time to really try, experiment, do what we could, and and really learned, oh my God, this is why we're in this predicament, because we have this footage instead of what we should have had. And I'd like to say therefore we turned the film into a great success. It didn't happen that way. We made it 5% better, not 100% better. But it was a great education, and I really think you learn more from a failure than you do from a success. But by the time it flopped, we were already in production on on a film with the two biggest stars and the biggest director in Hollywood, because David Ward's script was so good, it's still the best script I've ever read, that everybody wanted it.
How did you come about hiring George Roy Hill? Was that after Newman and Redford had committed, or was that...
No, this was a sort of an odd process. It was Universal Studios, and we had Robert Redford's interest, but not commitment. And we sold the script to the executives, at that time the executives at Universal were Richard Zanuck and David Brown. And but it was a highly competitive situation, and we had all kinds of approvals, and it really went to our head a little bit. But the business affairs head at Universal, named Rudy Petersdorf, slipped the script to George Roy Hill, who Universal had an overall deal with, and he shouldn't have, and we were very upset that he went around us to do this. But the truth is, we were very lucky, because George Hill was coming off a string of wonderful films, and had recently done Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. So George came on board, and he, through Butch Cassidy, became close to Paul Newman, and Paul was in London shooting a film, and George sent him the script, because they always sent each other their scripts, just to say, here, you want to read something cool, this is going to be my next movie. And Newman called him from London saying, this is great, I want to be in your movie. And George said, I'm sorry, but we already cast Redford. He said, no, I want to play Gondorf. And so we were thrown, because when you look at the movie, this thing, you say Paul's the natural. I mean, he's so perfect in the role. But actually in the script, the part was written for Peter Boyle. He was a fat, slovenly, over-the-hill guy. He only works in half the movie, and Newman worked. If you really look at this thing, he's not even in it for the first 20 minutes, and it's really, he didn't work a lot of days. So, and he was the opposite from the concept that we had all been talking about for the past month. But, so George Hill said, what do you think? What should we do about this? And ultimately, he said, I know he's not the character on the page, but I think I think he can really do a great job with this, and it's a complete. So we turned him into the classy, elegant, good-looking guy that he is or was.
Well, I guess there's sort of a resemblance of that when you introduce Paul Newman, where he's kind of waking up from that drunken stupor.
Yes.
You can kind of imagine Peter Boyle.
There's a bit of it. Yes, that's it.
Kind of guy.
Except keep that guy all the way through the movie,
Yeah.
and you have the original Henry Gondorff. But so Paul came in unexpectedly and late, and we very wisely said yes. You don't look a gift horse in the mouth. And actually, the real issue that stopped us was, this was raised by David Ward, and we really struggled over this, is that in order for this thing to work, you really have to believe that Johnny Hooker betrays Henry Gondorff. And who in the world would believe that Robert Redford actually betrayed Paul Newman after seeing them as buddies in Butch Cassidy? So that was, and if you look at this thing very carefully, the seeds are planted, because we were going uphill against the preconception. So when George said, "I think I can make this work," we said, "Okay, let's go for it."
Did George Roy Hill have any particular kind of point of view that he shared with you before he came on, in terms of how he saw the script being shot, or any changes he wanted to make?
Yes, he did, and his fundamental. No, we talked about it quite a bit, sure, because strangely enough, we were in the position of being able to hire or fire, bring him on or not, and it was really stupid because we should have just been on our knees with gratitude. But George said, "I want to make the script that David Ward wrote was more of a Depression era gritty tale. The textures were different, and George said, I want this to be like the Saturday Evening Post. I want it to be glamorous and elegant and no runny noses." I remember he said, "I don't want to see that." And again, this is the process of filmmaking. You go in very often with a vision that you think, yeah, this is great, this is the way we all like it. And something comes along that makes you reconsider. And your first impulse is always, oh no, that's terrible, it's wrong, it's not what we've been thinking. But again, when it's George Roy Hill, you stop, you listen, you think about it, and he articulates. And his enthusiasm for the idea, you could see he was onto something that he really wanted to do. And that whole idea of chapters, the script has chapters, titles is broken into chapters, but the whole page-turning thing with the Saturday Evening Post illustrations, that's George's touch. That's kind of the way he saw the film, and makes you think of it in that nostalgic, as a piece of nostalgia.